know why your family came here? Why did they move to the cemetery?
We have a little house. The living and the dead within such close proximity.
7 people who share this home.
It's just a really unique place
where we felt so humbled.
So everybody gets the foams out on the floor and everybody shares the space.
What's up, beautiful people? It is a sweltering day here in Manila. I arrived yesterday after a bus ride from Tagaytay. Didn't film yesterday, just literally having a travel day. But I'm staying here in Makati, which is one of the business districts in Manila. What I didn't realise was that I booked into a place that was literally on the red light district street. And needless to say, when I went out for breakfast this morning, I got offered many things, none of which I wanted. Anyway, today, got a very fun adventure planned. I met 2 very special new friends last night. So I'm gonna go and meet them now and introduce them to this channel.
Hey,
how are you? Very good, how are you? Salamat. Good afternoon. Hello, hello, hello. Who do we have here?
How are you? How are you?
These are the new friends I was talking about. Guys, meet Koshan Uncharted. If you don't know who they are already, this is Chris and Cody. Give a little introduction to yourselves, guys.
We like to travel the Philippines and we go right far out there, everywhere where a lot of other vloggers go. So that is our living.
To see what you want to see, you're going to do things that other people don't do, right? So that's what we do.
That's it. And today we're going on an adventure that is the epitome of that here in Manila.
It's my birthday on Tuesday, my 54th.
Happy birthday in advance.
You know what I found out? In my life, everything that you do is all about money. That's it. Regardless of what it is. If you're in,
Filipinos are very resilient.
Well, probably because of 400 years of different. We are occupied by different nationalities and culture. We came from the Spanish, Japanese, to Americans.
This is crazy. So we realise we've messed up. We've now been in this cab nearly 2 hours?
Yes.
Nearly 2 hours for an 8-kilometre journey, and we've worked out that we could have walked it probably quicker actually than this. But I mean, we've basically just been in standstill traffic for a very long time. We really messed up and should have probably got the LRT, but you live and you learn, or apparently you don't, because I keep doing this in Manila.
Yeah, so do we.
Thank you, Ariel.
Thank you.
Thank you for your story.
Thank you very much. Salamat po. So I said we were going somewhere a bit out there today, and this could be one of the most interesting places I've visited in my whole time coming to the Philippines, because we're coming to Manila North Cemetery.
It's better if you hide your cameras.
Hide them.
Yes. If you want to take a pictures or a video, or you want to take a documentary, it's better to get a permit from the studio.
Get what, sorry?
Permit. Cell phones or cameras may be confiscated if our office see you taking a pictures or videos.
So the reason we've come to Manila North Cemetery is because we've heard it's a super fascinating place. The reasons being, it's so full here that if you're buried here, it actually only allows you to have your bones buried for 5 years, and then after that you have to pay to extend, or your family have to come and collect your bones. But the reason that's really making this place somewhere that we wanted to come and visit and see is because... Hello. Hey. You're looking good. That's exactly the reason we wanted to come, because not only is it a cemetery, but it's a place where people live. Thousands upon thousands of people live here among the dead bodies, which is a crazy juxtaposition when you think about it. This is John, who's going to be taking us around and showing us a little bit of what life is all about here in the cemetery. And it's important to note that this isn't just a place where people have moved to recently. This is a place where generations upon generations of people are. Like, people are born here.
They're born here and they've made a business here by, John said already, selling like the electricity to others, and it's just a really unique place, and I've never seen anything like it in the Philippines before. So it's going to be really interesting to see another aspect of Filipino culture, and we're all going to share it together. So it's going to be an experience today.
The way out, okay. And then
Same.
so this family over here, can you see the shack next to the blue building?
Oh yeah.
That is literally what they live in, that tiny little shack.
And here we have a mass grave. So we're literally standing on, right now these plots are empty, but if someone gets to the end of their 5 years, or longer if they've extended, but then their family don't extend to keep their bones in the lot on the graveyard, their bones are then moved into this mass grave here. And you can see on these lots where they've got all of the plaques, these ones are full. These ones without the plaques right now, at the moment, they are all empty. But over time, all of these will be filled as well. And here you can get a little sense of just how big this cemetery is. This is probably a kilometre across and a couple of kilometres long. So it's absolutely huge. And in it you have people living literally in the mausoleums. You have some shops. It's a whole community here within itself. We're literally walking through the cemetery, graves on either side. There's multiple roads running through the whole cemetery. There's people literally living here in mausoleums. John was telling us that families of people who are buried here pay people to come and stay here and keep the graves clean, look after them, and people actually are allowed to live inside the mausoleums by families who have their relatives buried in them. And you can see this is daily life.
This guy who is in the De Castro block, he's lived in that block, in that tomb for 25 years. To be allowed to stay in the tomb, they have to have permission from the family who own the tomb. And the agreement is kind of, you can stay there, but obviously then you also look after the lot and
Maintain it.
you maintain it. So that's kind of the agreement. And if they say after a certain amount of time, we don't want you there anymore, they'll go and find a different tomb. But he's been there 25 years.
Absolutely mad. It's just so far removed from anything else I've ever encountered before.
That's insane.
It's crazy. John, so if people buy a lot like this, or like any of these that we see up here, they get it for life, but
Yes.
how about the people that get dug up? Is that because they're not in a lot that they've bought, it's just somewhere that
Renting.
they're essentially renting the space?
So for example, these people, they will never be dug up and put in the mass grave.
Yes.
So the people who are from the mass grave, where was they buried before the mass grave?
Some others are from the apartment.
Right, so they'll be further back.
Yes.
So just behind us we have the mausoleum for some very high-ranking war veterans of the revolution. John said from the 1890s, and you can just see kind of the grand nature of it.
It would be like a very grand burial at the time, I would imagine, so that when you come here, it's for you to like pay respects. So it's a very respectful
like
burial.
I suppose in England it's the same as like, you know, our whole like in the poppy thing where you can go and they've got the big statues in London. They've got them everywhere, haven't they? So I suppose it's like having a monument where you can go and pay respect to the people who served in the
That's
war.
what it is,
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
it's like our poppy appeal and where people go and pay their respects to that. So it's similar. Some of these are open.
Yes.
So is this, some bones have been taken out recently?
Yes.
Because these are some of the spaces that are just rented.
Yeah.
Right.
So these open ones have been recently.
This is the one that I told you that
taken out.
if there's no families, they go to the mass
The
grave.
mass grave.
Because they can't pay to extend.
Yeah.
And just behind you, John, you said this was where a caretaker used to live.
Yes.
Caretaker that was out there just before down there.
But for now, they have the money, and so that they live in outside.
So the caretaker for this, the war veteran's grave, used to literally live in here.
Yeah.
And then he earned money by being the caretaker for the grave, and now has moved out.
Yeah, he moved out. Like,
Amazing.
The Jewish community in the Philippines came over to the Philippines
Yes.
during World War II.
yes, for me.
And it was the president at the time took them in to save them, and they ended up settling in the Philippines, and that's where the Jewish community came from within the country. So that on its own is absolutely fascinating. So we're going into the Jewish graveyard now, and only Jewish people are allowed to be buried here, and they're descendants of the people who came over to settle from the Second World War. That on its own is so fascinating.
So as you can see, we're right in the thick of it, walking through the cemetery, right next to graves and everything. Having John to guide us through and explain things is really, really important, I think. And we're now, very, very interestingly, heading to a Jewish quarter of the cemetery, which I didn't even imagine would have existed. But there's a whole community of Jews who came over during World War II, and they came over to take refuge, I believe. And then since then, there's been a whole community here, and that's why they've got a whole section just here. And super interestingly, as a result of the president taking in the Jews in World War II in order to protect them, there's been a friendship that's been struck up between the Philippines and Israel, and John has just told us that Philippine nationals now don't need a visa to enter Israel because of this friendship that was formed by the president at the time, allowing the Jews to come to the Philippines and to escape from World War II. So here we have the lot for the armed forces of the Philippines. Just ahead of us over here, there's a lot for the Philippine police. And if you're buried in one of those lots, you remain in it forever. Having one of these official status careers and serving the country gives you that privilege of knowing that you're going to be buried there forever. It's funny because today we're learning so much history about the Philippines, despite not being necessarily at some sort of organized museum or anything like this, but by learning through the way that the Philippines in this cemetery looks after its dead, you learn so much. And here we have the lot that's in place for the Philippine firemen. And it's actually kind of crazy because you can just literally walk straight through the lot, and as you get through to the other side, you see people that are living in shacks just over here, who are the caretakers for the lot. You know, we walk through, we see cockerels here, we see children playing, we see I know I keep saying it, but we keep seeing so much everyday life, and it's just so intermingled with death, and it's something that, you know, to have the living and the dead within such close proximity, and the interdependence as well, because these lots wouldn't exist and they wouldn't be maintained and they wouldn't be able to continue in the same way without these people that were living here, living on site and maintaining them, looking after them. But these people wouldn't have a place to live without these lots, without the cemetery to stay in.
And it's interesting to see the different sides of like Filipino life and culture, because you see it nice in Bel Air and Makati, and you see all the like the money and the red light district and the party goers,
Big
and
skyscrapers.
you see the big like buildings, BCG, and then the offices and the financial district, and then you come to like outside of that, not even far, and all of a sudden there's a group of people who walk around with a smile on their face, who live in a cemetery, and that's absolutely okay. It's more shocking for us than anything, but I think it's very important to kind of see both sides of when you're here, both sides, to appreciate kind of where you are and learn about the history of it. So fascinating.
They're my parents.
Oh, the parents, it's their tomb.
I'm from Las Vegas.
Oh.
So do you live here now?
Yeah, I just came back just to visit my parents because it's death anniversary last 27th of April. Yeah. So.
So you came back from Las Vegas.
Cheese! Jollibee! Jollibee, Jollibee! Oh yeah! Cheese! Mainit! 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 Let's have a look at this boomerang you got then. Hello. And so you can see we've only experienced like a little bit because we've got here a little bit late and the sun's going down now. But this is everyday life here. In the cemetery, this is everyday life. Nice to meet you. Bye, nice to meet you. Thank you. Salamat po. Bye. It was so nice to meet you guys. Ah. Bye. Hello. So Chris, how have you found it?
It's really humbling experience actually. Like
Very humbling.
in England, it's completely different. We get buried below ground. There's no like, what do you call it? Like these areas. We don't have that in England really. You get buried in the ground. Everyone is pretty much the same, and that's it. So when you come here and you see how it's done here, completely different. It's important to learn the history of the country, not just look at the beaches. It's important to learn, and if you're going to come to the Philippines and take all the good stuff, you have to learn the bad stuff, or
Definitely.
the less attractive stuff, if you like.
Especially if you're going to be here for a longer period.
Exactly.
Hello. And like even now you can see us just walking through.
It's like a whole another aspect of Filipino life that I haven't seen, and we've been to a lot of places in the Philippines.
I'm about to buy a drink from Sari in the middle of the cemetery, and this community here that we're walking into, they have a turo on this Sari, and in the mornings all of the people from the village, the community, they all come here to eat together.
Salamat. Salamat po. For this part of the community that lives in the cemetery, this is where they will come and sit all together and have breakfast. So here they have breakfast every morning, and it's just the same as another community. Being here in the cemetery means there's different opportunities for work, like being a caretaker and looking after the lots. But life continues as life would in another settlement. Life continues in the way that they have shops, they have the same place where they'll come for breakfast, they have their friends, they have their lives, they sit down, they have fun. We just played with the kids as we would have done in the street elsewhere. And I think it's been a really, really humbling and interesting and informative, incredible experience to have come here. The sun has gone down now. It's starting to get dark, and I'm actually a bit gutted that we've only had a couple of hours here, because it feels like the kind of place that you could spend a whole day and not stop learning and not stop meeting the most friendly, beautiful people that are almost they're almost in shock that we're coming to visit, because I guess this is just daily life for them. But for us, this is so different and so out there. And I'm so grateful to have had this experience.
Do you know why your family came here? Why did they move to the cemetery?
We have no house here.
And did you just build this? The family built this? And this is your family's store? This is their business, how they make their money? The Sari.
They have a contract, and then they take care of you.
I see this. So you're in college. Are you this your t-shirt?
Yeah.
You're in college. What are you studying in college?
Doing psychology.
Psychology. Very good job.
That's a good job.
But-
Good job.
I don't know if we
We'll find the job. You're not sure. Do you want to live in the Philippines and do psychology, or do you want to work abroad?
if I give a opportunity. why
You
not?
will go.
Come to England, it's okay. There's many Filipinos in England.
Many Filipinos. Can I ask, is there many people in your family that they go to college to get an education, or only you? You're the first.
You're the first.
Congratulations.
Well done.
That's a very big, proud, very brave thing to do. If nobody has already done it, so well done. Very good. And do you have brothers and sisters? How many?
I have 4 sisters.
4. Are they all younger than you? Less? And are they? How old are they? What age?
13, 8, 10,
13, 8,
and 6.
So you're the big
You're the big
brother.
brother. You're the example. You're a good example because you're doing your education. You're a good example for your family. You should be very proud. You should be very proud. Thank you very much for answering my questions. Thank you so much. What's your name?
Jay and those
Jay? Nice to meet you, Jay. And good luck with your education.
Nice to meet you.
My name is Cody.
I hope you pass.
Lawrence, very nice to meet you, Jay. Thank you so much for talking to us.
I feel very proud for you.
Salamat po. Bye.
Okay, salamat din po. Bye.
I feel like we've had so many experiences today where we've felt so humbled and so special to be able to experience parts of these people's lives that live here. But that was particularly special meeting Jay, who's decided to go to college and be the first person in his family ever to go to college while still living here. He said he moved here because his family didn't have a house where they were living before. Amazing, right?
First person in your whole family to decide that I'm going to be the change.
I'm going to go to college.
Amazing. I hope I get an opportunity to get the job. I hope I get an opportunity to leave and do this in a foreign country. And I just said to him that I felt like I needed to come back and tell you that you already gave yourself that opportunity, and I don't think you realised that you already gave yourself that opportunity. You don't need anybody to come to you and say you can have this or you can do this, because you already decided without an example before you that you're capable to do what you want. And then he was like, thank you, and he started getting like teary and gave me a hug, and he was like, you don't understand, this means like so much to me to hear this from somebody who's not my family, to know that they are proud that I done this, because it's difficult. And I said, it's difficult, but without someone telling you and showing you and giving you the example, you've done the brave step of, you gave yourself an opportunity that no one else did. So if you remember that you've done that at 18, you can do that at any point in your life. You can go and be whatever you want to be. And I just felt like I needed to tell you that you don't need other people to give you that opportunity. And it's just like, it's just a bit emotional, because he was really grateful to have that moment and for someone to tell him, and he was a bit emotional and I got a bit emotional. So it was special.
I think it's very special to meet him.
It was special to meet him. He was a special person. He's one of those people who
He's
like
that
make your
inspirational
moment,
for
like he
the area.
makes your day. He makes it like, he's literally made my day meeting him. He's a very special young boy, very special. So I'm very happy.
We had no idea that you were living here.
Do you mind if I ask, what was the reason that your family moved into the cemetery?
John, our guide who lives here, has invited us to come and see his home.
Is there more than one? There's more than one foam here, so you put all of the foam. There's 7 people who share this home, so everybody gets the foams out on the floor, and everybody shares the space. It's very bad or a little bad?
It's bad.
Very bad.
Very bad.